Did you know that there's a, and probably if you're tuned to mainstream media, you're not getting all of the details on this. There's no law that says a politician, that people in public service, there's no law that says they have to release their tax returns. Media has been harping, and of course, fellow travelers in the Democrat Party as well, for the last year and a half, that Donald Trump isn't being cooperative with releasing his tax returns. He must have something to hide. Well, therefore, he must be a criminal. And they bring this up repeatedly, but there's no law, and I don't think that the left wants you to know that. There's no law that actually compels the President of the United States, nor any member of the House or Senate, to actually go ahead and do this. And in fact, a lot of Americans probably are of the opinion it's none of your dang business. Now, according to the left, it's because Donald Trump may have some involvement with Russia. Russia, 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 Russia. They just can't get off of that. This is a congressman, a liberal from New Jersey by the name of Bill Pascrell, whining yesterday about the lack of tax returns.
Donald Trump has refused as a candidate and as president to release his tax returns, which begs the question, what is he hiding? As in any good investigation, Mr. Chairman, we must follow the money.
I saw this today at the Washington Times because if we're going to be talking about money and involvement with the Russians, media is trying to convince you, well, they need an excuse for their girl not winning in November. So media is trying to convince you that Trump is somehow a Russian agent. David Keene, writing at the Washington Times today, during the 2016 campaign, it was revealed that Hillary's foundation had taken more than $100 million in contributions from a firm heavily backed by Moscow, seeking control of as much as 20% of this country's uranium reserves, that the deal required a sign-off from the State Department headed at the time by Mrs. Clinton, and that her husband had traveled to Russia, according to the New York Times, given a speech, and received a $500,000 honorarium from the Moscow bank funding the effort. When conservatives expressed concerns about all of this, suggesting that perhaps there had been something resembling a quid pro quo, liberals were outraged. Fact checkers leaped into action, and the very suspicion was roundly condemned as wild and irresponsible conspiracy mongering by out of control wingnuts. Keene goes on to write, we were told that there was no reason to be suspicious because Mrs. Clinton was only one of several Obama White House officials who had given permission or had to give permission for the deal. She didn't personally attend the crucial meeting, but instead sent one of her lower State Department officials, and that besides, the timing was wrong. Many of the contributions came in before an actual request for approval was tendered, and we all therefore had to assume the contributions were made to promote the wonderful work of the Clinton Foundation rather than to buy or even seek favorable consideration from the woman who was then in a position to torpedo the company's plans. You know, they were selling off all that uranium to Russia while they wouldn't allow people to build the Keystone XL pipeline. That's another story, but it shows you how the media, its perfidiousness and its involvement as being the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party, is hammering away at Trump. Now the latest outrage from media. Yesterday, a reporter was asking Sean Spicer questions about the supposed collusion with the Russian government. Before I get to why media is angry with his response, take a listen to the response first.
You've got Russia. If the president puts Russian salad dressing on his salad tonight, somehow that's a Russian connection. But every single person, no, that's, I appreciate your agenda here, but the reality is, oh, no, hold on. No, at some point, report the facts.
Ooh, Russian dressing on a salad. Indeed, now we know what he's really up to. The problem was the reporter asking the question, according to Lefty, was a woman. And not only that, she was a black woman. Last night, Hillary Clinton went on stage at an event in California. Tell me she isn't planning on running again. Failed twice, and I guess they're going to resurrect that dead horse one more time. Bring her back to life. The Walking Dead will be campaigning in 2020. And she said, obviously, Mr. Spicer owes the reporter an apology because he's a racist. and he's a misogynist. Why? Because he gave that answer? It's not like he said, hey, Aunt Jemima, shut your mouth. If he had said that, I could see where you might have some trouble. Or, why don't you get back in the kitchen and make me some pancakes? But he didn't say that. Again, this is all he happened to say in response.
You've got Russia. If the president puts Russian salad dressing on his salad tonight, somehow that's a Russian connection.
And that means he's a racist bigot? But according to Lefty, it's high time. Sean Spicer said he was sorry and then resigned. And then we're going to have him walk the plank in shark-infested waters, and therefore he will never again disparage a black woman. Bill Colley with you on Top Story. It's 9:12. We're at 40. On our way, actually, today, it'll be nice, into the 60s. Not going to be long-lasting. Going to have some weather coming up over the next week that'll be a little cooler, and there'll be some of that spitting snow at times. It won't stick, but we'll see some of that a couple of days over the course of the next week. We're at 41 now. On our way, I believe, to 61. Just a quick note, weather is a service of Mountain Home Auto Ranch. As I pointed out before, Mountain Home Auto Ranch, if you're a guy and you drive by that place and all you see is pickup trucks and Jeeps, as I've said earlier, it's like a kid going into a candy store or the dog in the meat shop. Yeah, or your cat with catnip. I keep coming up with these. At some point, we'll probably run out of them. I do thank you for joining us this morning. I also wanted to mention sometime soon, I hope to get back over to Cassia County to look at the finished product that I toured in early February, I believe it was. I went to see a home that's under renovation, and it's a historic home. It's one of the oldest freestanding buildings in Cassia County. In fact, one of the rooms I stood in is said to be the oldest room in the county. It's being renovated, and it's going to become a private lodge. This is all being done by Western Visions, Inc. Western Visions, Inc. will work with you as a customer. They're going to come in, work with you on creating a plan, ask you what you want, and then once the work starts, they're going to continue to consult you on a regular basis. You're not going to be left out in the cold and be told, come back in 6 months and take a look at what we've done. To be truthful, most of the renovations that are done, even the whole home renovations, take far less than 6 months. They will also do a retrofit. They'll work on a kitchen and bath remodel, or just the kitchen, or just the bath. And I wanted to point out as well, if you'd like to know a little bit more about the product, you can go to the website, Western-Visions Inc. Or no, let me get that right, Western-Visions.com. Maybe I should actually look at the copy in front of me, Western-Visions.com. And you can get all the contact information there and even take a look at some of the examples of the fine work that Western Visions, Inc. is doing throughout the Magic Valley. As I mentioned, Bill Colley with you on Top Story today on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. We're at 42 right now. Trey Gowdy, who's, he's not a Tea Party member of the House. He's not a member of to my knowledge, of that Freedom Caucus. He's not really a moderate either. Trey Gowdy is a Republican who I would call a very independent voice in Washington. He was appearing last night on Tucker Carlson's program on Fox News Channel, and he was talking about all of these allegations against Donald Trump and against Trump's people. And I've got to tell you, cooler heads should soon prevail. You would think in Washington, after a while, the Democrats and media are going to be beating this horse so long, the public, even a lot of liberals, will be saying, where's your evidence? Because they haven't produced anything. Gowdy explains to Fox News Channel how spies end up getting your details, your personal details, on tape, and then could expose you if you're talking to a foreign national.
If you are talking to someone for whom the intelligence agencies are authorized to collect, then yes, you may be captured on it. If there is a reason to collect on a non-U.S. citizen and you happen to call that person, then you would be collected as a U.S. citizen.
Gowdy is a former federal prosecutor from South Carolina, knows a little bit about what he speaks of. He's also defending Devin Nunes, his member. They're both on an intelligence committee in the House, his fellow member of that committee and his fellow Republican, because Nunes has come up with some details on what's really going on here that back up Mr. Trump's allegations of this meddling by the Obama White House in the Trump campaign. And he tells Tucker Carlson there happen to be limited details available, and probably will be limited details available about what exactly happened as long as the intelligence community remains at loggerheads with the President of the United States.
Can you just give us a quick summation of what we know for certain about spying on American citizens, including the Trump campaign?
Well, what we know is that if there is an evidentiary basis for the president's tweet, it has not been shared with the public. So we'll get that out of the way. The allegation was very specific. President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower.
Yes.
There's not an evidentiary basis for that. Where it gets a little more complicated is there are surveillance methodologies that allow the collection of hypothetically foreign-to-foreign communications. And to the extent that U.S. citizens are mentioned or collected in that, in those surveillance programs, they're masked. And I think you want the information collected from a national security standpoint, but the masking's important. So with General Flynn, the public reporting is that he was unmasked. All right, that's not only a breach of protocol, that's a violation of the law. That's the felonious dissemination of classified material. What Chairman Nunes' point is, I want to know whether or not other people have been unmasked, even though you don't know about it publicly yet.
And obviously Nunes has the details. He doesn't necessarily have to share those with the Democrats as well. Why they're so upset and they're so angry and they're now claiming that Nunes has to step away and remove himself from this investigation is because he knows something that they don't, and it's going to blow apart all of the claims they've been making. We have a caller with us. You're on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Go ahead.
Yeah, with that very last thing Obama did, letting all of the intelligence agencies share the information so that nobody could find out who's leaking the information. Why doesn't Trump cancel that out just as quick as possible so that they can start pinpointing where the leaks are coming from?
Well, thank you for the call. I'm sure that he has already revoked that, but the information has been shared. And all of these people, I think it's 17 agencies, they have all of it, and they're sitting atop it. Now, somebody at the White House, as we pointed out yesterday, has access to it, or is finding access to it, because that's what Nunes happened to see the other day. And it's galling the left, because they have had their way with this for so long. It's galling the left that he's now being somewhat, what you might call, evasive with sharing. But when it comes out, if it does, there's going to be a bombshell here, and it's going to make these claims, every other claim they've made, stupid voters, the lead in your water, alien involvement from outer space, all of these things have collapsed. Russia's all they've got left, and if it goes away, well, then I guess they'll invent something new, won't they? 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. It was creatures living under the planet. Yes. And they sneak out in the dark of night, and they snatch bodies, and then they vote for Trump. 41, Bill Colley with you. Got more coming up, in fact, in a few minutes on that story out of Rockville, Maryland, and the rape of the teenage girl.